lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be talking about Blood Syndicate #1, one of the debut series from Milestone Comics. I've already gone over Hardware, and I figured I'd go through the rest of these books as well. Probably going to hit Icon, and of course, I will go through Static as well. While I didn't pick this book up when it originally came out, Hardware and Static were the first Milestone books I got. I have recently been trying to fill in the Milestone collection, and I realized I knew Blood Syndicate, but I had never picked up the book. So I figured kind of cool, especially with Milestone returning, to kind of go through these books. When I originally recorded Hardware, the Hardware episode, Milestone wasn't announced to actually come back. Well, within the next couple months, we will see Milestone come back. Don't know what it's going to look like quite yet because we haven't really seen any pages, but super excited. Wanted to kind of just go over this book, and let's get into this. Dwayne McDuffie and Ivan Velez Jr. are the writers. Trevor Von Eden is a penciler. Andrew Peppo is an inker. Janet Jackson, color artist, and Steve Dutrow is the letterer. Now, much like I said with Hardware, and really all the Milestone books, the coloring is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if you put this book next to a comic book that came out at the same time in '93 from DC, the coloring looks way different. This is our introduction to the characters. I think at this point, only Hardware and Icon have come out. I think maybe Static was the third book. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to give the wrong information. But anyways, so right off the bat, we meet a reporter who is being tasked with reporting on Blood Syndicate. But in order to do that, she has to go to a place called Paris Island, which is where the Big Bang happened. And the Big Bang in the Dakotaverse is where a lot of people ended up getting superpowers. Static is one of the, I would say, the most popular of those heroes to get powers, but there is a slew of other characters who will later meet. But it's pretty cool. You know, I like the design of the reporter, kind of like a classic but modern design in terms of her clothing. You know what I mean? It kind of doesn't place you in a specific time period, which is kind of cool because the book doesn't feel too aged. So while he's telling, her editor is telling her that it's crazy for her to go, she knows that it's the story of a lifetime and there's nothing going to stop her. And this is where we see that, it's not going to be as easy to get to Paris Island as it once was, because the bridge that took them from Dakota to Paris Island is destroyed after the Big Bang. Again, the coloring is just phenomenal here. I really love these two panels with her on the subway train and all the graffiti and how each of the colors really pops off the page. We're only 3 pages in, and already she meets one of the members of Blood Syndicate, and his name is Third Rail. He's bringing her in, and this isn't a superhero team. This is a gang. So let's make no qualms about it. They're no angels, really. So as he's picking her up, he introduces himself, and he says, "You're a guest. You're here as my guest, and at my whim. Don't do anything without permission, and do everything you're told." Then we flip, and this is where we meet the rest of the Blood Syndicate. I really love all the designs. I think they're really cool. A lot, sleek, not heavily like with a bunch of armor, where, I guess you could say he has some, but overall not like super complex designs. And then, so we met Third Rail. There's DMZ, Tech 9, Brick House, Fade, Holocaust, Masquerade, Flashback, and Y-Sun. Now, if you recognize the name, any Milestone fans that recognize the name Y-Sun, Ho-Che Anderson actually wrote and drew a miniseries on that character. Really hard to find. I've been able to get a couple of the issues, but I highly recommend it because it's a really great series as well. So Y-Sun obviously has a problem with the reporter. He's like, he says, "Who's this bitch?" And Brickhouse, who, not easy to tell right off bat, but she's a woman, and she gets pissed. Gets pissed off at him and knocks him down and says, "Don't talk to me like that. I'm a lady." There's some cuss words, but obviously they're blurred out because it's a DC comic. But, the characters they have a real natural feel to them. And I think that was something that has always did at the time too when I was younger and read these stood out. You know, like they feel real, grounded characters, even though they have powers and live in a little bit more of a heightened fantastical world. I would say that the Dakota verse is a little bit more grounded than the DC universe, even though they're superheroes. Even though there is some fantastical elements. This is just really an intro to the characters. You get a feel for who they are, you know, all through the lens of this reporter that's doing this story on them. And you see that, you know, like these guys aren't nice. You know, like even here, their whole first mission is they're gonna go bust a crack house and keep the money. So while they're doing good, they're also doing it selfishly. You know, and they're talking about the projects and stuff, and you know they come from like a neighborhood that's in a lot of crime and stuff, and again, I don't know too much about the backstory of these characters. I feel like you learn more as you go on. This was actually my first time reading it, even though I knew of the characters from reading some of the other Milestone books. But you see that you know these are hardened characters. You know what I mean? Like they have not had an easy life, and now that they have powers, they're using it to somewhat protect their hood, but at the same time to kind of come up on stuff as well. I always like this too in the Milestone books where they give you a little update on everything Milestone on top of giving you the next solicits. Kind of cool seeing all the different powers sets, you know, that these characters have. I mean, Fade just walks like you see all you're seeing is he walks through walls, but right here describes it as he's being adrift in time and unbound by space. Really, I mean, again, really love the character designs, love their power sets. So here they come against a rival gang at this crack house. It's actually in this like massive building, which you wouldn't expect for a crack house to be in. And I love how we see Tech Nine fucking going at it, you know, like old, and she even refers to it like how it's out of an old cowboy movie, and watching their hands just blasted away. And then we see Masquerade's power being able to transform into another animal, and she's obviously like horrified. She comes from a different type of world than they're used to. And again, we you know really this, like I said, since it's introducing them, it's also I think a way to showcase their powers, and we kind of learn like what they can and can't do. This one, while I was reading, was pretty shocking, right? We see as she's running after the Blood Syndicate, she comes up from a stairway and her head is blown off. And then we see flashback and we see her powers, and kind of cool powers, because we see as she's obviously traveling through time, but she's counting down 3, 2, 1, and that's because her power set is only the ability to travel back 3 seconds in time. And Holocaust, and again, now we see Holocaust coming up as the guy that tried to shoot the reporter gets burned by him. They break into the room, find the drugs, and you can see here Flashback is stealing some of them. Tech Nine saying he wants it destroyed. Holocaust wants to sell it. But if he can't have a lot of fun, he'll sell it for a little, and he burns the building down, burns all the drugs. And as we end the issue, we see a little, you know, conflict between the members of the gang, and they're basically going to fight to the death, Holocaust and Tech Nine, over who's going to lead this crew, right? And then, you know, we got some preview pages from Icon number 1. But that's, you know, I'll be honest with you, while I liked this first issue, the art's good, the writing's pretty solid, didn't have as much of an impact as I would say Hardware number 1 did, or Static number 1, or Icon number 1, the 4 inaugural series. Definitely worth checking out if you can find them. I think these are pretty easy to find right now. Not too sure if these things are going to be harder to find once the new Milestone stuff comes out, because I know that they're definitely picking up steam in terms of like on eBay. But you can find them, pick them up. They're really solid. On top of the fact that all the number 1s have some really dope Dennis Cowan covers, which I really love. Dennis Cowan's, you know, one of my faves. Highly recommend checking all the Milestone stuff out. Definitely going to be doing a Static episode and an Icon episode coming up soon. And if you're not already following us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. like, follow, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new video goes up. And on that note, I'm out.